So good morning. Welcome to Ag Talk and Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. I've been sick for a week. So I went to England. Me, Teresa, William. We go to England. We go to LAMMA. We meet up with Mucka and George and Paul and Sally and Liz and Kim and who else was there? Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown and Shannon. I don't know Shannon's last name, but Charlie and Shannon. I had a great time. It was really fun. So we get home Monday morning. I'm like raring to go. Supposed to have a bunch of parts in my baler. Unfortunately, they did not ever show up, so Crone dropped the ball on that one. I shouldn't call it Crone, I should say. Well, what I understood was going to happen is not what actually happened, so we are now without parts to fix a baler that needs to get out of my hair. It's not a big deal to put it all back together again, really. It's pretty simple. Grant has done the lion's share of the work. I've been doing, Grant and Tim did the lion's share of the work. I didn't do much. So there's no real video of it. There's no real video of it. So whatever. So that's just that. I'm going to go there today. This will be the first time in a week that I ventured out of the house. That I actually ventured out of the house. So, let's chewing gum. Seems to help with the congestion. So I'm venturing out of the house today. The other day, what was that? Friday? Yeah, Friday. I was on Facebook Marketplace and there was a guy advertising 2 kegs of grease. Lithium grease, unopened. One's Quaker State and the other one is something else. Let me see if I can see what it is. It's already been sold because I bought it. So we'll see if there's a, let's see, there it is. There they are. I already rated Mr. Dan. Let's see if we got a picture of it. Bell Ray. So one is Quaker State and the other one is Bell Ray. I don't know what Bell Ray is. Honestly, I have no idea. So, Quaker State I do know, and Bell Ray I don't. But I'm going to find out what Bell Ray is. I'm going to open them up today when I get over there and see what they are. So what I bought those for is the grease guns on the what do you call it? Think stupid. On the baler, the automatic grease guns, they need wheel bearing grease. Nothing special, no moly grease, no nothing. Just lithium grease or wheel bearing grease. They don't want a high quality grease or clay based grease, let's put it that way. They don't want that. They don't want a coupler grease because they're not couplers. They just want wheel bearing grease. And for $100 for 2 120-pound kegs of grease that's never been opened, it might be 20, 30 years old. I don't know. That Quaker State looks like it's at least 20 years old. But that doesn't matter. It's sealed in there. And grease, let's face it, doesn't go bad, unless it's exposed. Now, Carl, when he was working for me, he brought a 120-pound keg of grease that was forever old. Nothing wrong with it other than it wasn't well cared for. It had been opened up and there was dirt on the top of it. And I just figured, you know what, I'm going to use that keg for fifth wheels. When we bring the trucks in, you just slather on that grease for the fifth wheel and, there you go. Bob's your uncle. It's good. So that's what I use that for. I do have a 120-pound keg of synthetic. Was it synthetic? Yeah, synthetic Schaefer's moly grease that we use in the foot pedal or the foot pump grease gun, because you just take a trowel and blob it in there and shake it down a little bit and off you go. You just walk around the machine and grease it that way. Now, why I haven't been using that much lately. I like the grease gun personally, but the boys prefer the electric ones because I don't know, because they do. But anyways, I found it quite ironic that yesterday I'm watching YouTube because I'm homesick with this massive congested mess. I've been using Mucinex, which it doesn't give me that narcissistic rage that Sudafed does. So I just watch YouTube channels and watch TV and sleep, trying to get this up. The longer I lay, the worse it gets here. And Teresa says it sounds like I rumble the house. Now, when I do go to sleep and I wake up, I cough up a bunch of ugliness. That's yellow. So that means there's an upper respiratory infection, and I'm going to have to get myself some amoxicillin or penicillin, but amoxicillin will do just fine. And here she comes. So sexy.
Oh, stop. There it is. I was looking for it.
Oh, shake it. Shake it.
I ain't shaking.
I thought she was going to come out in her underwear. But anyway, yeah, it is 20 after 6 this morning. I've been up since 4:30. Yeah, 4:30. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I was watching YouTube, and I see that Lord Muck was posting a video on greasing his loader. And I thought to myself, you know what, Self? That's awesome, because I just bought 2 kegs of grease, and I was actually going to make a video of those 2 kegs of grease and, you know, show what greases I use on my baler and why. And then, because these are the things that you think about when you're a YouTube creator and, you know, you're laying in bed because you're sick. So what are you going to do when you get back to the farm? Well, I'm going to make a video, right? I've had about enough of these. Lost a bunch of footage on this due to a screen issue. Pissed me off. Oh, it pissed me off. So these cameras, people complain about the sound. I could go back to this rattly old thing, right? Watch this. This is the original camera. Still works. Still functions. Not perfect, but I'm not going to go back to this because I think this is only a 480. It's back in the day. I mean, we're talking 2008. 2009. I bought this in 2009. 2008, I used my cell phone. Flip phone when I started. Which I may have. I actually used, I don't know what William did with it. I've used all kinds of cameras over the years. Head congestion is killing me. There. Next chewing gum, Mentos chewing gum. Works great for like 2 seconds. It's better than a cough drop. But it wears out like instantly. And that's just this sugary crap. So, anyway. Ooh. All's relief. I've been sucking enough of those things. I'm going to shit one of them things pretty soon. But anyway. He's coughing. I hope you can understand what I'm saying here. So I'm looking for cameras, you know, to change over to. Now, I like the idea of the DJI. They're a pretty cool camera. This one here, this is not the one that I normally use. I have 2 of them. This is one that fucked up, though, and cost me footage at the one farm. Now, see, it's got a front screen and a back screen. So they work pretty good. This is the one that I normally use. It does not have the front screen. It only has the back screen. So, I don't know. A couple of years ago, or a year or so ago, let me go get this thing. A year or so ago, a fella gave me this, right? So this is a Sony Handycam, which I always like these, right? This is not a 4K, this is a 1080, which is perfectly fine because I'm only filming in 1080 anyway, because it just eats up so much memory on the computer, and it causes my computer to crash, and you can only upload, I think, at 1080. So this is like the maximum. I've used it in the past. It's charged up and ready to go. It's one of these deals, you know, you can, hey, how are you? You know, hello, is it me you're looking for? You flip the screen around. It's a little bulky. If you don't want to use that, you can actually use the eyepiece, which is the old style of doing that. But there is an eyepiece, and it turns it on and off. and you can do that as well, and keep it from busting that door. So you've got that. This is just a shade to keep outside light from coming across the lens. This one actually has the night vision mode. This is one of those. So watch when you go to night vision, and I know this there, it turned green on you, but you could see, let's see, yeah, you can see into the dark recesses of the back there, but I don't know, whatever, works just fine. So I've been talking for 10 minutes. I haven't said a damn thing about farming, so we can talk about LAMMA and what we saw there. There was a lot of different things there this year than there were last year, but as I said, these cameras have let me down. I do have a really good interview with New Holland on the new CR11, and I'm editing that now. The reason I'm editing it is because there's a lot of footage. I mean, it's like I've got an hour and a half of footage. Now I could do two things. I could just run an hour and a half interview on the whole entire thing, which will bore the shit out of people, or I can break it up into three or four different videos, which, in all honesty, would do the video justice, because anybody that's interested in the new CR11 would definitely 100% get the maximum out of that. If I edit it down, which I'd hate to do because there's so much stuff in there, so much information on this video about the newness of it. The CR11 is not a higher horsepower revamped 10.90. It's not a revamped 10.90. So that would be the Class 10 combine. This is a Class 11 combine. I would have to say this will go to Class 15, if there's such a thing. It's so different, totally re-engineered. The only thing that's similar on this combine is the cab. It's the same cab. Everything else is a ground up blank sheet of paper, as they call it. Like, they took a blank sheet of paper. They had what they had been using starting back to the TR70, and then the TR85, TR75, 85, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and then into the CR 940, 960, 970. I think they had a 980 there for a while. And then, of course, the 9080s, 8080s, 8070s, 8060s, 6080s, whatever all these different variants of the CR combine. This is ground up new combine. It has 24-inch rotors. They're longer. They have a totally different cleaning system on it. Like, John Deere was shocked because John Deere actually went into Agritechnica and got caught looking through this combine, taking photographs of it, even though when it comes out for sale, John Deere and AGCO will be the first ones to buy one. They're probably already on the waiting list. And yeah, and it goes all different directions. Like the X9 1100, that was bought by New Holland immediately after it came out. New Holland looked at it and was like, perfectly good way to fuck up a good design. That's what was said. And I kind of agree. You know, I mean, the X9 is an impressive machine just because it's got a lot of throughput. But honestly, if you look at the overall design of the machine, it's kind of weird, especially when you're used to a twin rotor design. And the thing that I hate about John Deere and their combines, or harvesters, if you want to call them that, is that John Deere will come out with something and be like, all new, redesigned, you know, by us, all new, new concept, new technologies. Well, they said that with the X9, and I found it to be quite funny, because maybe for John Deere it's a new technology and a new design, the twin rotor design. And basically what they did was take two bullet rotors and put them side by side, lengthen them out, add belts that are 5 miles long and different drive lines, and added a wicked, nasty price tag to it, and people buy them. You know, they buy them. And that's fine. I won't be able to afford a CR11 or an X9. It'll be a long time before that ever would happen. And why would I? And that's the other thing. Here in New Jersey, I am maxed out. That CR8090 is too big for me. Is it too big or isn't it too big? It's too big. I mean, it is massive. I would have been much happier with the 8080 over the 8090. It's Class 8 combine. Class 7 combine would be the 8080 class. They call it a Class 7. It's a Class 7 combine with Class 8 horsepower, but it's a small frame combine. It has the, I don't know, what size rotor? 17-inch rotors versus the 22s, I think. Maybe they're 18-inch rotors versus 22. I'd have to look. I know that, yeah, they're 17-inch rotors. And I have 22-inch rotors in mine, so it's huge, massive. The drive lines on the CR11 are way nicer because there's no chains anymore. Everything is built and run by drive lines, and you'll see that in a video. So in a day or two, I will post something on that CR11. I think I should break it up into like 4 different videos for the guys that are actually interested in it. You see George bobbing in and out, and William will show up. Teresa, you'll see her walking by. You see Charlie Brown. If you know who Charlie Brown is, you'll see him. And, you know, a nice kid. Both him and Shannon, really nice people. I had a good time. You see Paul. Paul was behind the camera, and Sally. And Kurt pops in and out, you know, as this whole thing is going on. And then I went up into the cab alone with the representative from New Holland. They gave me a nice vest. Said New Holland across it. The joke was I'm now an employee of New Holland, and I get to go around this wicked machine. There were a couple of things that I was not allowed to film, and I did not film them. The reason that I did not film them was because they asked me not to. Excuse me on this congestion. I just have to deal with it. The one major thing that New Holland has done is they've taken the engine, instead of running it crossways to the combine, they actually turned it so it runs parallel. And they moved it to the side to counter, to counter the weight of the auger when it's out and unloading. So that auger runs over 4 bushels a second. 4.5, 5 bushels a second. So when that thing swings out, there's a lot of weight on there. So you got that to deal with. So they moved the engine to the side. There is no more there is hydrostat, but it isn't variated. The variators with the belts and stuff, gone. It's a CVT transmission in there. And you'll see that in the video. So the CVT transmission, which is basically a auto power if you're John Deere or in Europe or England, or IVT in the United States, North America, whatever. The IVT transmissions or CVT transmissions in New Holland, they're CVT transmissions, a constant velocity transmission. They have a whole range, so when you want to adjust the rotor speed, it will adjust the hydrostat and the motor. No, I'm wrong. CVT transmission to run the rotors. Then there's another CVT that runs the hydrostat for the speed. So my combine has four speeds: first, second, third, and fourth. This one has 1 and 2, and it's got that CVT in there that runs the hydraulic pump. So you do away with having to have that type of transmission, a geared transmission. You have a CVT transmission, which will run up through the gears and then drive that pump that much faster automatically versus manually. But the rotors themselves are run on a CVT, no more variators. So you can set that speed to what you want, and off she goes. The left rotor actually runs the feeder house. There is a gearbox under there that runs directly to that feeder house. It is a gear drive feeder house. It is no longer a belt drive with chains. So you do away with a lot of belts. Very clean machine. So anyways, I guess that's enough of me talking about the CR11. I am no expert on combines. Of course I am. I've run them all my life. I took a sabbatical from combining corn and soybeans in 2016 to 2020. So from 16 to 19, 20, I started back into combining again with my old TR96. Of course, the technology between the 96 and the CR8090 and this new CR11 are hands down above and beyond advancements that I will never see between the different models of combine. So anyways, really cool stuff. But with that, now we're going to talk about carbon farming and how there are people out there that are calling carbon farming a lie. So what is carbon farming or carbon sequestration, sequestering carbon, mycorrhizal fungi, all these things? Obviously, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, I touched on a lot of this stuff and the different species of plants that will sequester different nutrients, and some legumes will pull nitrogen out of the atmosphere. They all pull carbon from the atmosphere and convert to oxygen. So CO2 gets converted to oxygen. Well, what happens to CO2? Well, it goes down to the roots, and the root exudates feed the biology in the soil, mycorrhizal fungi, and things like that. When you do no-till and you're putting this stuff in there, the biology becomes balanced, as long as your pHs are in a range where it can support a balanced ecosystem beneath your feet. So these people come out and they're showing pictures of videos of cows pooping and peeing everywhere. They're very dirty animals. It looked to me like these animals were in confinement and then were turned out onto a pasture, and they were allowed to decimate the pasture, and these people were out there. This is not carbon farming. And I could not agree more. So what they should have done, if they weren't being facetious idiots, and I'm glad that they probably didn't get a lot of views. I think there's like 1,500 views on the whole thing. They're probably their closest friends and idiots out of the city. So in order to sequester carbon and put it where it can be utilized and converted into oxygen through photosynthesis, so that carbon goes into the soil, and that is the food for the biology. The mycorrhizal fungi, bacteria, they all thrive on that carbon, and they grow in there. They are telling people, these idiots, they're telling people that once you put the carbon in the ground, that it stays there indefinitely. You know, the real sequestering of carbon is, and will it? Yes, of course. It's food. It's it's what's needed in the soil. When you come along and you plow that soil, like go down 6-8 inches, plow that soil, you then introduce oxygen, which causes an explosion in the biology. It just grows at such a rapid rate, multiplies like gangbusters, and then chews up all that carbon, releasing it back out into the atmosphere, and then you've lost your carbon storage. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen with repetitive plowing practices. Now, I know there's a lot of guys that think that I'm crazy on this thing, and you got to plow every few years. No, you don't. Good rotations with, God, I need to blow my nose. Good rotations between corn, soybeans, wheat, and different cover crops as you go through. Those roots will go down in, soften the soil, break through the hard pans, and allow oxygen to enter the soil naturally through worm channels, and the actual decaying of those plants then release the nutrients that they've broken down into the soil, building organic matter, which is where the biology thrives and produces the nutrients needed to grow your row crop. Now, you're not going to go onto a farm that's been plowed conventionally for 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, whatever. I'm on the East Coast, so 300 years is really not a terrible assumption of how many years it's been plowed, cultivated, and tilled. You get out west, it's a little over 100 years. So say 150 years. Yeah, 150 years of tillage, whereas here on the East Coast, 150 years of tillage. 200 years, 300 years of tillage. So 16, 17, 18, 19, so 350 years of tillage. Our organic matters, our topsoils have been stripped off by erosion and poor practices by European settlers for 350 years. There's people that will say that I'm stupid, but I can take you out onto farms where there were stone walls, and the erosion has actually taken a 4-foot stone wall and made it level, and then there's a drop off because the stone walls actually caught the topsoil, and you can dig straight down into that topsoil and see what was there. It's beautiful ground, beautiful soil. It's just pure tilth. It's nice. Out west, you don't have that so much because you're 150 to 200 years behind us on the tillage destruction of your soil, but you're gaining, pretty quickly. Now, I'm not going to bore you with details of stuff, but I will tell you that the federal government, yes, our federal government, as overreaching as they are going to be implementing different policies for farmers around this entire country in your farming practices. So when you go into the Farm Service Agency or NRCS, what will happen to you is they will say, oh, you want that carrot we dangle in front of you, that $1,000, that $10,000? You want to borrow money for a percent per, a percent on interest? Here it is. You got to sign this up. Oh, by the way, how many acres you doing? Oh, you're doing 1,000 acres. Well, you got to put 200 of that into a cover crop program. And they're like, oh, that's what's coming. That is what's coming, and then it will, and it's kind of a good idea. It's a good idea because I think some guys, but I think they're doing it all wrong personally. Because I actually signed up through the NRCS to get some cover crop. Because it's expensive if you don't understand. So when you're getting into this, and it goes against what I have preached for a long time, staying away from the government offices, but I wanted to see what they were about, and as long as I wasn't going into the Farm Service Agency, I don't care. I'll just go to NRCS. It's a different deal because those people pissed me off. So you go into the Farm Service or the NRCS, and then you just prove that you're farming the ground, whether it's a contract. It's a contract, a lease agreement that you're farming that ground, and it doesn't matter. It's not a sign up every year like they do at the Farm Service Agency, and then you put your cover crop in. So the cover crop, they're only requiring you to have it in the ground for 3 months. It has to be actively growing for 3 months. God, this stuff. Anyway, that's fine. Supposed to be getting that cover crop in February, and I'm going to frost seed it on. Where I'm going to frost seed it on, I think it's like 250 or 300 acres or something to that effect. I'm going to frost seed that on in February, March, April, May, right? May, June. So the majority of the ground that it's going in is June ground. It's ground that you really can't do much with until June. So that's a good thing. There's other cover crops I will be putting in: oats, peas, and crimson. Peas and oats for the most part. And the reason I want to put peas in with the oats is because last year I did the oats and the oats grew, and then when I went to lay them flat, crimp them with the vertical tillage machine, them little bastards stuck right back up and they shaded the corn crop and pulled moisture out. So what I really want to do is get the oats in there, or peas in there, because they'll lay it down, they turn into vines, and it'll lay it flat. Excuse me. So there's what's going on with that. The government's going to start forcing it down your throats, especially if you come into these, if you're going into the Farm Service Agencies. It's coming. If I were you, I would be doing it preemptively, because I think that will give you some education on how it works and possibly an appreciation for what it can save you, and it'll get you a head start into it with knowledge and results that you can positively see. There's a lot of really good websites out there and there's a lot of people you should be listening to if you're listening to podcasts and things. The David Brandt, Gabe Brown. I don't like Gabe Brown's attitude. He seems, whether it's that North Dakota or South Dakota demeanor, I don't know, but he seems like you're either going to do it my way or you're going to fail. And I don't like that. But Gabe has a lot of really good information, and he's been doing it now since the 90s. So he's, miles ahead of a lot of people that are doing this. Now, David Brandt, unfortunately, last summer he was killed in a car wreck in Ohio. That's where he's from. So you're not going to get any more information out of him, but there's a lot of David Brandt out there on the internet. You can go and see what he has done since 1974. He was a Vietnam vet, came back to the farm, had a lot of problems. You can go see David Brandt's story and what he learned and what he utilized. And he got his farm to the point where he only limed it once, and he's only used cover crops, and he buys no fertilizer. He buys no fertilizer. When you can do that, all you have to do is buy seed, try to get away from neonics. Neonics do kill the fungus in the soil and the insects in the soil. Insects, good insects. The answer to the bad insects is actually more insects, good ones, that take those out. That's why last summer when you saw me getting excited about ladybugs and earthworms, that just means that my soil is moving in the right direction. And I was really quite happy about that. Very happy about that, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so anyways, it's been going on for 30 minutes, and I don't think I need to talk any more than that. But yeah, look forward to that video on One Lonely Farmer on the CR11. And I'm going to be starting pretty soon with videos on cover crops, why I'm doing those particular cover crops on the ground that I'm putting them on. I'll be hauling lime and other fertilizer products as soon as I get my antibiotic. I'm going to go find that today because, God darn it, I cannot be sick for 7 days after a supposed vacation, which, let me tell you, was not a vacation. This was work. It was very disappointing work because of my cameras. I wish I'd have bought a new camera. I do. I really do. I wish I bought a new camera before I went. And I think I am going to buy a new camera. It's going to be another DJI, but it's going to be the Osmo 3. That comes with clip-on microphones, 2 of them, if not 2. They're wireless as well. So I can just put that on, walk around the shop, show you what I'm doing, and you can see what we're doing. Walk around in the fields. I can set it down. It's got some tripod. The batteries are supposed to last wicked long, which is good. And yeah, unfortunately for me, the damn thing is out of stock. It's out of stock. So, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't, sorry. If you did, hey, thanks. Give it a thumbs up, a like, a comment. That gets the algorithm in my direction, and life is good. Have a nice day.